So back in 2024, we at Lucidity Insights began recording our first ever podcast episodes in this studio right here in Dubai's Media City. And throughout a season of over a dozen impactful episodes, we've hosted some of the Middle East and Africa's most influential and inspiring investors and venture capitalists. And together, their insights have helped thousands of entrepreneurs to understand if they have a VC-backable business, navigate the fundraising process, build the most investable founding team, and ultimately craft the perfect pitch.
What makes a perfect pitch for you personally?
I think a perfect pitch is one that comes stemming from a pain point, or a problem that founder has felt directly or identified directly. And that gets built, on top of that, you build on the data that justifies that there is a problem and a proposed solution to that problem. Specifically, that's what I want to hear first. And then I want to hear the next layer of the onion.
One of the big challenges is for us to understand the vision of the entrepreneur. He has to make us understand his vision. We see a lot of companies. So I don't care about the length, whether it's PowerPoint, Excel. He has to make us understand his vision. Once we share his vision, we'll understand his company, we'll value him correctly, and we'll support him correctly.
On point, and really that showing the excitement within a team for that topic. I need to see this passion for what they want to build. I think that's actually very, very important.
So I think some founders would deliver a pitch in a way that's driven from passion and a problem they're solving, and really, something they care about deeply, right? And some founders deliver it much more analytically, right? And that suits the different founders just as fine. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think it can be both, right? So I think to the founders that are very passionate about the problem they're solving, I think the advice is always know your numbers.
One, articulation of the problem straight up, very clear. How they're solving it, very clearly. And why this is a large market. So if you go 1, 2, 3, quickly to the point, I think that's the best hook at the beginning.
I put a lot of weight on the founder specifically because ultimately that's who you're betting on at the early stage. So who are the founders? What's their background? Why are they doing this? The why is very important to me, actually. Like, what is motivating you to actually take on this entrepreneurial journey? Because it's not easy, right?
The number one thing that I would look at when I'm looking for the perfect pitch is that person on a mission to solve for something that's bigger than just the one solution. And the solution is part of a series of ways that they're looking to address this mission that they have. And the second part of it is really how well do they understand that space.
So for very early stage, it's more about the passion of the team. Do they have the right skills? So it's a lot more really about the team and maybe the market. But the product is maybe an idea, and then things will evolve. If it's a later stage opportunity, then it's much more about looking at the numbers and the traction and so on.
And what are the inflection points that are happening around him outside the problem itself that's gonna get him to ride a higher wave, right? He's on a boat, right? We need to know that he really knows the boat that he's driving, what kind of boat he's building, right? But then the waves that are gonna carry that boat is equally important.
I love that analogy. Basically, he needs to be a captain of his ship, and he wants to get into the storm and ride it until it's, high sky in the air.
So if you want to build a global business, you need to show that your product can scale in more than one market. Don't come and talk to me about a global business when you haven't yet got it off the ground in one market. And if you want to talk about global, you better be in 2 markets so that we can start talking about global. So it's always about kind of that 2 steps ahead.
when it comes to founders, first-time founders coming to you for funding, right? And actually we can just broaden it to all founders. What is your biggest pet peeve right now?
It really bothers me when a founder tries to approach with passion and energy and almost intrusively, because it happens, without any research on who we are, what we invest in. I mean, it's plain in front of everybody's eyes on our website, or you can go, to a lot of other sources and kind of get a better understanding of us. You might be able to see what we've said online on our blogs, because that's also written there, or videos or at talks. Contrast that with a founder who's done their homework. And I've had this experience as well, which is mind-blowingly impressive.
All investors told me, do your research, prepare, know your investor, find the right fit. And that's why we built lucidityinsights.com, so you can see every investor, what they invested in, how many checks they typically write in a year, what the average check size is for each investor that you can expect. You can check out their entire investment portfolio and do research on their startups that are similar to yours, so you can see if there's a symbiotic strategic relationship that can be formed there.
The thing that is a little bit of a red flag might be too many hot words in there. So if you're building a blockchain-based AI that's going to do anything, you're probably trying to piggyback off trends rather than solve a real problem.
Them not knowing the type of things that I'm interested in, because most investors leave a lot of breadcrumbs all over the place. We talk about it on stage events, and somebody walks up to me and starts talking to me about investments, I don't know, in a country that I am not interested in, a sector I'm not interested in. I just think it immediately discredits, right, the ability to even listen at that point.
Old LinkedIn pitches where it's very clear that they have not even looked at our website. Like, we're a thematic VC. Like, don't approach me if you're building a healthcare product, unless it has a climate angle or a fintech angle to it, of course, right? So I often say, just like we're diligencing founders should diligence the firms that they're approaching. Because honestly, it's a disservice to them if they're pitching a fund that is thematic and they're building a product that has nothing to do with the themes that the fund focuses on.
We get people that are doing amazing things, but are they the right fit for VC in general?
I mean, there's a few. I think in many instances, I meet founders who take a spray and pray approach to fundraising. So they'll know nothing about the investor that they're talking to. And they'll just go around and meet them either at events or at pitches or in different contexts. But it's, I think at some point a founder told me that I talked to 100 investors. It's a waste of time.
You get a lot of those founders that kind of, okay, what's the flavor of the month? I guess there's less of them now, but you still come across those.
Yeah. And you can smell them from a mile away.
100%.
Yeah.
You don't know all the angels, you don't know even all the VCs, and obviously you can do your research and find that, but most of the founders don't know. And I think one of the things you should do as a founder is do your research and trying to, and maybe go to your website and find out what kind of founders, investors actually exist. I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
And then very important is understanding what these investors investing in, at what kind of time, and also in what kind of topic. So that you already have that advantage, at least knowing that you're not contacting, I don't know, a Series A investor to raise your pre-seed round, right?
And if you think back to your most successful founders and sort of those relationships between founder and investor, what are the qualities that they have that you go, oh, if they have that when they walk in the door, I'm always intrigued.
So for me, I have an ideal startup founding team. It's my idealistic utopian view. And in Silicon Valley, we see a lot of that. Here, we don't see a lot of that much. So one is somebody who can code. I'm talking tech startups. So somebody who can code. Two, somebody who can get customers. That means digital marketing, growth hacking, mostly from a digital perspective.
So we strongly obviously invest in teams. We believe in teams, that's important. And what we see is that the teams that have a very strong domain expert, meaning someone that worked for 10, 15 years in a specific domain, and he knows a problem in and out, and he knows the pain point in and out. That actually shows us, like, and we see this with other Antler investments actually that are already a bit further, that these companies actually have a very high success rate because there's people in there that really understand a problem.
You know, it's passion and skill. It's a combination of passion and skill. I also really like founders who demonstrate resilience and resourcefulness. I think there's a combination on the one hand, passion and skill, and the skill, of course, within the founding team can be complementary. So you can have one founder who's stronger on the technology side, for example, another founder who's stronger on the customer side, etc.
Well, you know what I think was such a wonderful takeaway from the unfortunate COVID pandemic was you could then quantifiably say companies that we backed for product market fit, but we weren't sure about the team. What happened when their market just suddenly got turned upside down? Versus companies that we backed the team, but didn't quite have product market fit, were they able to figure it out? So you could take a look at success rates based on which one mattered. So historically, people have always said founder first. But then after COVID, you could say yes, because the companies that were founder first, those founders that we believed in, could easily change their business model to survive this. Whereas the ones where you back the business model, if the market dynamics changed, the founders didn't have what it took to survive.
We normally don't invest in sole founders because we just don't believe in the concept. I mean, if you look around how many unicorns exist that come from sole founders, you find almost none.
It's also not surprising, but also not commonly talked about, that the average age of a successful startup founder is 45 or 40 years old plus.
So I think ideally we want to see a strong team with some entrepreneurial experience, some technical depth, and back to what we were saying. Authenticity, velocity, resilience, right? So this is on the team side of things.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever got?
Like my advice to founders is, unless you need to fundraise, don't fundraise.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're giving a portion of your company away.
Yeah.
And you're getting other cooks in the kitchen now that you may not always be aligned with. So that makes for a messy relationship.
So not every business has to be a venture-backable business. But if you're making that decision consciously, you should at least know what it means. Yeah, your responsibility and governance level goes up, right? Once you have a board, once you have other people's money, you're responsible for your shareholders. And you're also responsible for the law that you're domiciled in.
Think 2 steps ahead. Don't ever answer the question around what do you want to do next or how you're going to make the next move. Tell me what's going to happen after that.
So my advice to founders is find a problem you really care about solving. Find the best technology in the world that can be applied to solve it and create a brand new solution, right? Rather than something that has been done and you're doing the same but different.
So I think right now, the most topical thing is that, money is scarce, capital is scarce. I would say that it may appear that way, relatively so, but if you build a good business, there's always capital available. Always. It's just about building a great business. And keep in mind that over the next few years, I think there will be a shift towards much more capital efficiency.
Don't do what you're not passionate about. You will burn out. You're likely to fail.
I think just be honest. I see a lot of founders trying to paint a rosy story, and that's general advice that I give to all entrepreneurs. This is a partnership that will last for many years.
Cut the BS.
Well, cut the BS for sure, but also realize it's not just about this round.
Yeah.
An investor who comes in, now, you will want that investor to come in again in 2 years or whenever the next round happens, and maybe potentially after that again, and so on. So it's really a partnership. It's not a sales pitch.
When I talk to our team at MVP, I always tell them whether we're investing or exiting, you have to always be exiting.
Always be exiting.
Because if you don't exit, you have not really fulfilled the promise to your investors. Either you cannot sell it, so there's a problem with it, or it'll go bankrupt.
The team you build is the company you build. I think this is very important.
If you have at least a subset of investors on that cap table that you feel comfortable, just pick up the phone and be like, listen, I'm really struggling with this professionally, or even I'm really struggling with this personally and it's affecting my work. That is key. And if you don't have any of those on your cap table, it's a bit worrisome, to be honest, because you need to have people that you trust, who will have your back and who can help you.
So after a full season, what have we learned? My biggest takeaway last year, which sort of is self-serving as one of the co-founders of Lucidity Insights, is just do your research. Investors don't want to feel like they're your sugar daddy. They want to feel like they are your strategic mentor and guide to get to the top of the mountain. And you have to be clear on why you think they, with their competencies, with their personality, is unique from any other and in a unique position to help you and your startup specifically.
This is now me talking to a startup founder. Do not give too much of your equity away. Feel free. Feel free to fire your angels. Feel free to say no to the money.
We're on a mission at Lucidity Insights to democratize access to the data and insights founders need in emerging markets to build stronger businesses. Sign up for your free account today at lucidityinsights.com.